What's up, you guys? How are your personal portfolio projects going? I had fun with this one. It was a scripting project, but I thought let me just add a GUI stuff to it. And the reason is simple. I love coding. Okay, so here you go. If you want, you can clear this up using this clear button. I'm gonna put it back. If I hit encode or decode, it can turn that text into Morse code, and it can turn it back to readable code as well, right? And one thing that it does is check this what do you call it, camel case on letter case. It capitalized the first word. That's the only thing that it does. But apart from that, it's just an instant stuff. Like you have something that you want to decode or encode right after, you can just come and paste it there. Let's say, for example, I want to encode love, right? Then I select all, I cut it, and then I bring it in there, and then I press decode. It can still get me the English version of it. If I have a file, say for example over here, I have this text file, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello world, and I upload it. It tells me if I was successful uploaded, right? And then I press decode. It also works behind the scenes and then tells me when the decoding was successful and the file was saved. And here it is, recently created 11:51. You can tell there's a difference between this time length and this one. So when you look it up, it's now encoded rather into Morse code, right? And you can then come back. Say for example, here it says error loading. I'm going to show you how it does that. Like for example, you come here, you want to pick up a file, and then you end up not picking a file. It will tell the error, retry uploading. But when you pick it up, it also tells you that file was successfully uploaded. I'm going to show you how I came up with that mechanism. So we're going to hit encode or decode. This time it was Morse code, so we expected to see another file. Here it is, decoded, right? And then if you open it, it's exactly the same as our original text, right? So that's the functionality of this program. Let's dive into the code and see how exactly did we come up with it, right? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to come over here and talk about the dictionary, right? So all the Morse code I have, I took it from Wikipedia. Some got it from GitHub, which had zeros and ellipses. Mine had boxes because it's from Wikipedia, so I had to do a bit of cleanup there. It's not really tidy, but you get the point. It's just a dictionary right there, and then I just imported right at the top of this file, which is the encoder file. And in here, what we have is this one. It will be the path of the file. This one will be the contents. I should have, sort of made the comments right there. And this will be a temporary storage of the Morse code. Alright, so we have four functions or methods, like the one that encodes, the one that decodes, the one that reads the file, and the one that saves the file. And the code file, this one here, is what determines, like if you are noticing that functionality where it says, okay, it's Morse code, I'm going to bring you English code. It's in English, I'm going to turn it to Morse code. It's actually here. What it does is when it reads the first text, right, and the letter in the first one, if that letter is an alphabet, then it knows that encoded. If it notices that it's not an alphabet, then it knows it's already in Morse code, so you have to decode it. So that's how it codes. That's how it splits. Okay, so that's the functionality right there. And then you notice it was saying, error, you couldn't upload the file. Well, when you come down here on the UI, pretty much what I have is an upload button, which is this one here. It has, it's based on an image. Like you notice here, all the buttons were based on images, right? And then I place them. I like the place method because you can actually specify exactly where you want to place it. So pretty much everything about the buttons is the same thing, an image and a position well placed because of the attributes. So what I did was I kind of made resizable false so that it kind of maintains the same stuff. And the background colors and the second background color, if you notice, we had a bit of two colors, this shade and the shade which takes the most part, and the shade in the middle, alright? And this one I just kind of made it the same because we were like image buttons. Okay, cool. Which kind of makes it look a little bit unique as well. I kind of like that. And everything else is within the canvas. Okay, so we had that same thing, the logo, and then the text entry. This part you really, it comes without introduction, right? And what the clear button does. It's just one method, so you can call lambda. The command right there is to call it on the fly. Just delete the stuff in the in this text. Like if we say clear, okay, and it clears the stuff, right? You write some stuff and then you just hit clear. What it does is calling this lambda, where it says delete everything from the start to the end, and this is where I placed it, like with its position. Okay, cool. So I think we kind of did everything in terms of explaining how the GUI works. Now let's look at the engine behind the GUI, right? We'll start with the upload button, which is this one here. If you hit it, it calls the command upload file. Remember, we don't need to put the parentheses because it will call it instantly. So now it's just called when you hit it, and it calls this part here where it says upload file uploading. And then to upload and pick the file, that's where we have this file dialog, the ask open file, and you have it from TK Indra, right? So that's what it calls up there when it's uploading the file. And then this file comes up with another attribute, which is file.name, and this file.name is what you exactly need because it's more like a path. So when it gets the path and it's passed over, we pass it on to read file, right? We say encoder read file. So that's where we come here, and then this is the file. Remember I said it's more like a path, just like you do with open, and then you pass in the path where the file is, and you use the read tag because that's what you want to do. And then finally the contents of that file are placed into self.txt, which is this part, and then the path itself, like I mentioned, this I could have said just path, is what's used, is what's stored over here, right? And so we're good to go with that one. The reading part is done, and then we have our contents, so we return the contents. Otherwise, if anything happens, we'll just say file not read, right? So here's the thing, this is reading, so you have to say exception, right? This is too broad. I think that's what they're gonna tell us right now. Yeah, too broad. You could actually see, like, is it a Unicode? It could be character function, like this. The reader could not read it because maybe it was in binary form. So you could say that kind of file format exception error or something other exception. But this is too broad, but we want to go with the broad one anyway, because we are amateurs. Anyway, but we could be more specific on this error. But I want to let you take note of is we're using a try and except block. But the error you were seeing last time, right? This one where we said, okay, I want to upload the file. And the computer is like, okay, upload it. And then you say, no, I was just kidding. And then it will tell you, retry uploading, right? That kind of handling there, that it doesn't break, is actually in handles over here in the UI, where it says, okay, read the file, and then it comes here. And then if it says, okay, the file is none, then it doesn't go anyway. It just says error. It's just updating the label. That's what we're doing. But if it does upload, then it say file successfully uploaded, right? And then finally what it does is it calls the save file, which is, remember, this is the contents of that file that are encoded and now they are saved. Let's go watch what the save method does. All right, save method does is it takes the file, and then it takes rather the contents of the file, and then it takes the path. Remember, self.file, which is up here, is where we said that's the path. I could have done a better name in there, and then it splits it into the path. And then remember, this is a good naming because we're saying get the file name. All right, why is it that we're saying this gives us the file name? Because remember, if we say, let's just say file.split, right, we're going to take away the soft part for now. But if we come over here, the Python console, I'm going to put this first. I'm going to say file. Okay, don't worry, we're going to copy this and then I'm going to do it anyway the same way. We have it up there. File is equal to this, right? So this is like what we get when we do ask upload, right? Let me just show it in action, right? When you hit upload, right, from this ask file dialog, right, what's returned from this part right here is not the actual file, but something like this, the path to that file. So when we get that, now what we're after, if you notice, we want to save that file, right? We want to save that file over here. It could be in the encoded files, or it could be in the both of them are in the encoded files, but it could be decoded, which is this extension we're adding, or encoded, right? And then this is the part where we're just saying, okay, if it's decoded, just delete that part, and if it's encoded, just delete that part, so that we have a difference between the decoded ones and the encoded ones, right? And then you write it down. Okay, with open, the path we're kind of getting updated now. We need very well. Okay, that path, then you use the right tag as file, and then you save. And then you, okay, we're gonna wait on this one for now. I'm just gonna finish up on what the split does, right? We're saying file dot split, and we're splitting using the /, and we're taking the last part of that array, and as you guessed it, it's the name, alright, of that file. So in our case, we will have something like text .txt. Right. So with that will be our name, our file name. That means every time you wanna decode or encode a file, it will always carry its own unique name in that folder, which is brilliant. And again, as we mentioned earlier, there will never be more than 2 copies of that same file. Why is that? Because if you come down here, when we say upload file, you'll notice that you will always have the decoded and the encoded file of the same text name. If I take this one and try and re-encode it again, right? If I'm gonna do it right away, we'll wait for it to tell us it's done. And if I come back to that same folder, you see encoded is now at top, and you can check the time. So we have a new version of encoded, which came back from the Morse code, right? From the decoded mode, it's now back to encoded to Morse code. So if you wanna decode this, we will have another file like this. So every time we won't have more than 2 copies of the same file. So that's a good functionality right there. Anyway, so coming back to where it was saying encoded files, right? So we're taking that name and then we're passing it over here. This is the path where we want to save it, and this is just the idea of the file name. I think you get the whole idea. So that's where we take it. So our path will be that one. Either this path where it says, okay, I'm decoded, or this path where it says, okay, I'm encoded. Okay, so that's what it pretty much does. And then read and then text, right? Okay, cool. Sooner after this, we're going to have another trial block which then writes that file. Here we have that method we called earlier, which sort of renders the stuff, and this is the notification we get afterwards, or could not save, or it was successful. Let's look through together. I hope I'm not going too fast. On the part where it says code, right? Code is where we said it checks if the first letter is an alphabet, and then it calls either encode or decode. All right. So for example, let's say it called encode. All right. We have 2 methods that are left right now, and that should be done. So when it calls the encode, right, here it comes, it brings up the text, and then it's just loops through the text, right, where we say, okay, every letter in that one add it to this code message, right, that string in there. And then we're saying, okay, because we have that dictionary over here that we have imported, then this letter C, and then capitalize it. Why are we capitalizing it? Because all the keys of the letters are capitalized over here. Okay, cool, we get that. And then what do we do with that? It says over here, get that key and then strip. Why are we stripping? Because if you notice, there are some trailing spaces between the keys and the values. So strip will take care of that for us without editing that much. And the last thing that you'll notice is we're adding this bar at the end, right? The reason why we're adding that bar is we want to split, like, okay, this is a word, this is not a word, this is a word, this is not a word. Okay, we're doing that over here, where we say capitalize the strip, and then we're adding that part. And then this part, we're just adding it, not in this coded message, but we're adding it at the as part of our class, right? And split morse. This is this part here, which is a temporary part. Why are we doing it like that? Because if you are decoding, which then brings us up here, we want to split by the bars. So we sort of say, okay, every word ends with a bar, okay? And so when we're looking for those words, we're just going to have them split up like that. And then the other important thing to notice is that we have one dictionary which has these as keys and these as values. So how is it that we get to sort of use Morse code to get the keys to get it back to English? Well, we reverse that dictionary, which is what we have here, a copy of the reverse dictionary. And how do we reverse? We're saying, okay, for all items in in the dictionary, right? Which brings us a tuple of items. I'm gonna see if I can if I can do a demo. Alright, and I'm thinking maybe we could do it this way. I'm gonna call it D just for dict, right? And then I'm gonna paste this stuff in. I'm gonna try and hit next. Okay, good. So we have that path, and then if we say D dot items, you notice that everything in there comes back as there's tuples, right? A list of tuples. All right. So what we did here is, or what you have to do is, when you're reversing now, these ones will become the keys. Okay. So we're more like saying for maybe these are the key and values. Key and values in D dot items. Okay, what do you want to do with these keys and values? You can either work on them separately, but for example, let's just do it like this. Let's just print them out first, right? Maybe we just say print, and then we start with V and K. Okay, let's start that. Okay, you see, then it changes. This one will be our key and our value. Key, value, key, value. Initially it was A being our value, right? So that kind of changes right there. And dictionary. A was our key, and this was their value. B and so forth, right? I think you get the point. So that's how we change the two. That's what we're actually doing here. We're just using dictionary comprehension, right? And we're also stripping so that it doesn't have this trailing. You see, there's a trailing up over here. So pretty much that's what it does. The encode and the decode part. This part here, soft.splitMorse, is mainly used when we're working with one liner, like that part we were working with one line. That's what we were using in that case, alright? So pretty much everything in that how I coded in this part. You're gonna find the code on GitHub. I'm gonna try and upload it very soon, and let me know if we can improve this code a little bit more. And hope you also had fun, trying to work with it all by yourself, seeing how everything works together. Sometimes this time the sleeper works, sometimes it doesn't work. So the best one that I used was, if you go up here where it says upload a label, this one is what you see every time we were updating the screen. The label takes in all of these, right? But what is very important about the timing is using the window dot after, and then I was saying if it's decoding, give it 6 seconds, right? If it's done, then just delete it. Alright, so pretty much that's everything on this code. So very interesting to see how Python just does everything out very nicely like that. And let me know what you think about this project, right? And let me know if you also managed to sort of handle the reverse mechanism, because most of the people were simply taking text to what do you call it? They were simply taking text to English, but none of them were thinking along the lines of reversing that, and also coming up with a little interaction with a GUI, right? I think I did an overkill with it, but for my first time, because this was really my first time trying to create something that has a graphic user interface by myself, so I don't really blame myself. I think it kind of looks neat. So praising. Okay, I'm gonna stop. So let's think up again on the next project, right? Which I'll walk you through how I did, and I'm also curious to see how you guys did, and also help one another to see how we can cement in our knowledge of coding. Right? Adios, amigos.